The
Journey out of the campus. Still couldn't see your face, so tall.
I heard your joke outside. That was really funny. Okay, hi, I'm Michael, and you might call my nickname Mike. And time really waits for no man. I remember just 2 years ago, I was still a student, looking forward to my graduation ceremony. Now I've already become a software engineer, working in the industry. I remember that a senior in my last semester, he gave us a very impressive advice. He said that you were the most senior ones at school, but once you step out of the campus, you will become the most junior and be prepared to learn everything from scratch, just like a child. He was right then. In the first few months at work, I was really like traveling to a foreign country. Everything to me was new and unfamiliar. I didn't understand the terminologies used by my colleagues. That is, we are all speaking Chinese, but I just couldn't understand anything. And I couldn't figure out the deputies of each one and what was their responsibilities. Even to understand how to use the software that I am going to develop was a very challenging job. So that was really tough. And I tried to refer to something, but it turns out that there were no textbooks or lecture slides such a thing for me to read. So the only thing I could do is to ask my colleagues for help. But you know that everyone at work was very busy, so I just can't ask them for help for everything. In this case, I really needed a very sufficient strategy for me to ask questions. So at first stage, I usually ask why questions, such as what is this thing, and what is the techniques used in this component or in this module. Well, by asking what questions, the purpose is to collecting the keywords as clue for me to searching for more details. You know, Google is very useful, but it turns out that some of the words, after I typed in Google, there were no results. That means it was the private intellectual to our company. So I know that I may ask more questions about it afterwards. But if it was a common techniques used in the industry, then I would find out lots of tutorials or teaching articles for me to learn. And after I got some basic knowledge at first stage, it comes to the second stage. It was like a treasure map. I was trying to find in the treasure, but the map was teared down into many different pieces, and every piece was gathered into a different place. So I have to gather them together to recover the whole map. Now I've already gathered some missing parts, and the next job is to organize them together, to connect them into the whole map, and try to find the right place for each piece. At this stage, I still need to ask questions, but before I ask anything, I would first organize my understanding into some brief sentences so that I can describe them to my colleagues. And in this way, my colleagues would know that I have already spent lots of efforts on this problem, and they would be more willing to helping me out. And also, if I happen to misunderstood anything, then it was a very good chance for them to correct me. Then finally, I got the necessary background knowledge that I need at work. But do you think that's the end? No, of course not. Here comes the very important part, that is to ask why. Actually, before I can construct any piece of the software, a lot of my work is to asking why to use this method to solve this problem, or why not. Well, in software industry, usually a problem can be solved by many ways, but some methods looks very good and easy to use at first. However, it will turn out to be a hell in the future. while some methods may look not the best choice at first, but it will finally turns out to be to benefit your team. So by asking the reasons for my colleagues' decision, I can learn from my seniors their precious experience and to prevent myself from making the same mistakes that they already encountered. And sometimes I would ask my boss or my customer, why do you want me to do so? The purpose is not to challenge them. The purpose is to determine what is the most, what do they really concern, so that I can determine what is the most priority thing to do. Because time and resource at work are usually not enough for me to complete every task. So if I didn't do, if I didn't spend my time and efforts on the most important thing, I may end up working very hard but get poor results. So I suggest all of you to practice asking questions at school, especially to ask questions about a field that you are not familiar with. You may find some friends majoring in different departments than you. Then you may ask to learn their professions. In this way, your survival skills at work would improve a lot. And since today is the final meeting, I would like to wish those who are going to graduate from here to have a very bright future and to start a career path that is really suitable for you. And be reminded that once you step out of school, you are the most junior one, and be prepared to learn everything from scratch. Thank you, PME.